All right. So been a week since, our last midweek mastery. And I kind of wanted to hear what you guys have you seen any changes in the last week in the market in your areas? Because I had a couple conversations in the last maybe 4 days, and seeing a ton more activity on socials with agents posting about multiple offers and all that. So I wanted to get kind of everyone's perspective on what their markets are doing.
Well, I'm a tiny bit out of the loop because, as you know, I was out of town. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm kind of not a good person. I did show a property the other day that does have three registered offers on it.
Okay.
Um, so we're probably going to be doing an offer on that, but it's like a cheap one. Um, but yeah, other than that, like I'm kind of out of the loop.
No, that's okay. I would say the biggest conversations I'm having are with people that are getting their fence sitters off the fences and start actually doing some activity, whether that's just bigger conversations or showings altogether. Julia, you're seeing that?
I'm seeing a lot of offer dates set. Some of them are successful, some of them aren't. Um, I- I'm seeing a lot of people starting to price low and set an offer date, but take a preemptive offer. Um, I'm also seeing sellers do what I did on my last place, was just hold out for the price we want. Um, so it's working for some of them, others are just lingering. It's really all over the map, and but I do see a lot more appointments when I'm going to see places. I'm not the only one there. A lot of cards, so I think there's a lot of people coming out of the closet and starting to look again. Spring is coming. People start thinking about it. You don't have to billy goat a snowbank to get into a house now, which is nice.
I know I saw grass today. Like, oh my God,
I
I forgot what that looked like.
Wow,
Really?
wow.
Oh man.
Oh, Nancy, do you not have grass?
Oh,
Are you saying I can take the snowshoes out of my truck?
no, I don't have
We're so
gravel.
close, guys.
I have like big snowbanks.
Gautam, what are you seeing in your areas? And I know you work with some investors. Are you seeing anything different with them?
Yeah, I mean, there's two perspectives. I think in GTA overall, I'm seeing a lot of activity. Like first time home buyers are trying to come out and inquire about properties. I mean, I had a buyer, I mean, of course, his situation was a little bit unique. He wanted to buy a property within a week because he had some family issues, whatever, and he ended up buying. So now we're trying to move the closing earlier and things like that for him. So that's a good thing. But I see a lot of questions asked by first time home buyers. I even got some message last night, somebody looking at a condo in Mississauga. So people are, I think, coming out of that holding pattern a little bit, like Julia said exactly, right? Coming out of the closet and making some decisions and looking at properties. For investment perspective, what I see, I didn't see much inventory in the market for investment purposes, right? Like not a whole lot of properties. I do have a buyer client who's looking, and yesterday two properties came in because of I think the weather is going to help bringing some inventory for investors, so some multiplexes. So, but I see like those two came out last night, so I'm talking to my client and see if we can, drive up north, even though Nancy's scaring me now a little bit for the snow, um, but it's in North Bay again. So, but we might drive up one of these weekends, maybe this weekend or next weekend. But I think the with the inventory coming for investors, I think it'll start activity there as well. I mean, if it's a good property, good price point, good cash flow, they don't stay much longer. Anyways, no matter which type of market we're in, because it's a little bit different than somebody actually buying to live in, right? So that's my perspective.
I like that. Thank you for sharing. I figured there was going to be a little bit of a difference, so I wanted to touch on that. Alroy, are you in agreement with everyone? Are you seeing anything different with cottage country?
It's a bit early yet for cottage country. There's a lot of snow.
Yeah.
I have got a couple called me looking for maybe a listing appointment this weekend. We'll see how much snow they have, whether we can actually list them. Um, Cottage Life show is coming, right? So that kind of pushes some of this inventory to the market. It's our excuse, get them on the market now because the show's in 3 weeks. So it's coming fast. So, but overpriced, like multiple offers. There's been a couple up Victoria Harbor that I've heard went multiple offers, but same little rundown dumps that need renovations. And if you can get them for 300,000, put 100,000 in, you're still in a pretty good spot.
Yeah.
So that's what we're seeing multiple offers on, that kind of thing. Some rental work, which is interesting. Usually those ones kind of leg and sit and don't do anything, but the right price they're selling.
Yeah, and I think that's the majority of the conversations I'm hearing and seeing online. I've seen so many agents in the GTA posting on Instagram and Facebook about these, either their listing or something that they've offered on, just that broker bay notification of how many offers actually came in, and starting to have those conversations online about, this is the market picking up. This is the opportunities that we've been waiting for. So that's awesome. I love that. I had a conversation yesterday with Carol McMonigal. She came into the office. She's based out of the Oakville area. And she was saying Oakville, Burlington area, same thing. Seeing properties that are priced correctly, they're going. Some have multiple offers, but what she's seeing in her database is really, she's got about 6 people that have kind of come off the fence in the last 4 to 6 weeks, saying, okay, let's actually have these conversations. Let's start the process. Which is awesome. This is nothing different than I think what Scott was saying when I was away, about March being the time to really start seeing that activity. Lovely.
I think
All
some
right.
builders too are offering more incentives too, that I'm noticing, right? Like, I don't know, somebody like Mattamy offering a price protection to buyers and saying, well, if price drops by the time you close in a year, you will get the difference back, right? Or some I'm seeing is basically offering more incentives and things like that. I think it's kind of helping as well. I think to help drive buyers coming out of that holding pattern. Sorry, I think Julia or Nancy wanted to say something too.
And
I was in a couple situations where I've offered on a property and we wouldn't go up, so we let it die. And I've had maybe 4 rounds of other people offering and it dying. So that patience that some sellers are having is real. You just have to stick with it until they get tired, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, or somebody comes up and provides a price that outperforms the comps.
Nancy, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I was just going to say that it's absolutely mandatory if you come up to North Bay that you have to stop and have a coffee with me.
Agreed 100%. I will plan that and I'll message you for sure. I'll give you notice.
Gonna hold you to that.
Definitely.
Mailbox number 6.
Definitely. Let's do that, Nancy. Looking forward to dropping by, for sure.
Yes. And I'm sure I'm gonna get one of those conversations too in the summer when I'm headed up to McKellar area. Just gonna veer off this way. Just do a quick stop, little day trip. But yeah, that's awesome. I would say this is the opportunity, this is the energy that we were expecting, and now we're seeing it. So, in a month it'll be news, but to us it's happening right now, and it's the current activity. So run with that. Speak that to your database. Share that with anyone that you think may be on the fence or has kids sitting on the fence. That's something that Scott and I are working on right now. Remember he was talking about how he had sent out that CREA article. So one of the people he sent it to was one of his friends from high school and his son that we helped put into a rental a few years ago. And so he sent it to the both of them, same idea, same kind of formatted email. And the son ended up getting back to us and he booked a Zoom call with Scott. And so now that's someone that we've started the process with, the RICO info guide, the realm searches, all because we had kind of given out that information and started that conversation. And obviously now is the time to share what's going on in the market. The next thing I wanted to talk about was, did anyone read the OREA poll that came out from Abacus? No? So I got this email yesterday that OREA had done the Abacus Data Housing in Ontario Perceptions, Impacts, and Solutions. And they did this January 2026. So I'm going to read a little bit about it, but what it talks about is the key impacts that are happening to buyers and how it's affecting their perception of real estate. Yesterday in our social media power hour, we talked about answering the questions of the public. And there's 3 key topics here that we're going to touch upon. And those are the key things that you should be answering with the way you structure your emails, the type of info you're putting out, whether it's you're posting it, you're sending it via email, you're booking coffee chats and just sprinkling this information in. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of read the key insights, and then I'll share my screen so everyone can see the data about how the rising cost of living and housing affordability really rank in the top 3 priorities, not only for the citizens of Ontario, but for the government. So let's talk about the 10 key findings. So 86% of Ontarians are concerned about housing in Ontario today. 86%. I was not expecting it to be that high. Only about 12% believe housing will be more affordable in the next 5 years, suggesting that long-term.
Sorry, Michelle, are you sharing the screen? I don't know.
Right, I can. I was just going to read it. It's a lot of words,
okay.
but I
Good.
can share it.
No, that's fine. Yeah, then that's
Okay. I will send this out. It's just a lot of words on one screen for everyone. I don't want to freak anyone out. So, yeah, only 12% believe housing will be more affordable in the next 5 years, suggesting that long-term optimism has largely collapsed even among younger Ontarians. Now, this is something that I've definitely seen. I have a lot of my friends, or my dad has a lot of his friends' kids that really want to have those conversations about, how do I do this? Because I don't know how. I can't see it. I can't visualize it. So that's something that, whether you have a sphere, and I see Elizabeth on here, I see James on here. So whether you have a sphere of first-time homebuyers like we do, or you have new clients that are first-time homebuyers, or you're just working within your database and they have kids that are going to be buying homes, then this is still a conversation everyone needs to be having. Hi, Elizabeth. And when we're talking about the confidence in the market, not being able to visualize it, to see it, the very sad stat for me was that 26% of aspiring homeowners believe they will never be able to buy a home, indicating that a quarter of would-be buyers have effectively exited the pathway. They're not even paying attention to it. So one of the things that reminded me of something that I could do to kind of combat this negative perception was really harnessing and talking about the information that's provided and the incentives that are provided by both the provincial and federal government. I think maybe about a year ago, I had created that first-time homebuyer guide. And I'm going to be sharing that again, because in there we talk about first home savings plan, the first home savings account, the home buyer plan, all the incentives that are available, the land transfer fee rebate that are available to first time home buyers. And some things that I know Gautam brought up, builders and stuff like that. There are more things that are passing in the government that could really help new build purchases and just buyers in general. So I think those are the ways that we go about combating this negative mindset. Does anyone use that first time home buyer guide? Does anyone have their own kind of package of incentives information that they send out or talk about with their clients?
I usually just send an email out with links with information.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because that's handy. It's all in one place. I have to say I don't have a pretty package like maybe yours is.
But it doesn't matter as long as the information's there and it's valuable and they can read about it, they can ask questions, and they see that there are better opportunities than just high prices and being priced out of the market.
I also think it's important to have the conversation around these stats that come out. I don't know if everyone saw, but there was a media thing last week that said, I think it was 296 new homes sold, and I had people reach out to me and say, there's only 296 homes that sold, because they don't understand that it's new homes. And in terms of doing a survey about affordable housing, there's a difference between affordable housing and meaning for people that are looking for places to live that are affordable versus being able to afford to buy a house. It's a different message, and sometimes these these things that come out with stats are, I don't think they're clear to people, and it's nice to have that conversation with people as well. So
Yeah, definitely. And
it's not as bad as you think, because the governments have offered us some tools to make it more affordable for you to buy.
yes, and when I send this out, you'll notice that this is actually 161 pages. And most of it in the beginning is about the key insights, the key topics that those surveyed wanted to kind of express to the government and to the public, and say this is an issue. Whereas the rest of it talks about, okay, this is what we're doing, this is what we're seeing, this is what we're trying to implement, etc. I'm gonna go ahead and share the graph so you guys can see. All right. So here we can see the rising cost of living, improving housing affordability, and increasing the supply of homes are really the top three things that people are talking about when it comes to housing. And what I want to know is, how are you guys talking to your sphere, talking to your clients about these things? When do these conversations come up with them? Because I know that with one of my clients, the rising cost of living conversation came up, I want to say we had done maybe 3 showings, was super interested in buying, going from renting to buying. And then we started talking about financing. That was about 3 showings in, saw what type of condos were being listed at, etc. Went back to his mortgage broker, talked to him, talked to his bosses about potential raises, everything like that, looked at his financials. And that bumped us from purchasing now to purchasing by the end of summer. So my question to you guys is, how are you having that conversation, and when are you having that conversation? Or is that just something that you kind of pass on to the mortgage broker to talk about? Or is that something that you sit and you have that conversation with them? Yeah, Nancy.
For me personally, and I don't know if I can speak for Elroy on this or not. I deal primarily with people who are buying a second property. I don't think I've dealt with a first-time buyer in years. So I'm not really having that type of conversation. Elroy, what about you?
Yeah, I don't deal with a lot of first-time buyers. We're just, yeah, our housing prices are a bit high here. Toronto's high, but usually it's a second home we're looking at, and they'll use the first home as part of their financing
That's
puzzle
right. They're
piece.
they're leveraging their primary residence to buy a secondary.
Yeah, most of my buyers are, late 40s, 50s, 60s, and then they're looking eventually sell the Toronto house.
Yeah.
Are you guys seeing activity with maybe their second generation, their kids or anything like that?
I'm gonna have to say no on that. Um, Although I'm rather shocked, and I have been shocked in the last couple of years at the age of people that are buying secondary properties. Like I'm dealing with people in their 30s,
Okay.
which I find is like, wow, you're buying like a cottage and you're 35. Like, good for you.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
I'm seeing, yeah, not quite 30s, but late 30s, early 40s. But generally, I've noticed the demographic. They're doctors, lawyers, accountants, someone on a public payroll with a high paying job. Yeah, it's a little bit disturbing that it's the public payroll that's paying that well, because it's our taxes paying that. But that's usually when I look at the demographics, where are they coming from? It's someone that's higher up in the ranks. Like it's not a man, Tim Hortons manager or something like this. They're up there.
Yeah, that's true.
Elizabeth, I know your camera's off. I don't know if you can speak to this at all, but have you been having these conversations with first-time home buyers or anything like that?
Yeah, a little bit. Funnily enough, like a lot of people that have been putting off buying a place are reaching out to me with like what everyone else is saying. Like a lot of them are stepping off the sidelines. And I actually have a client that it's a single woman buying on her own, which honestly I don't see much of. So it's kind of exciting. However, like just in general in life, lots of convo about like the rising cost of living and like how that affects people for sure.
Yeah, I would say definitely that's a topic that I'm seeing a lot. And I saw it yesterday when I was talking with Carol about even just the real estate industry in general, and what she's seeing, not even so much first-time home buyers, just the people that like she has a listing and some of the story behind it. She was talking about, I have to have these conversations about the cost of living, about the next steps for my sellers and what that looks like. So yeah, I feel like some of us are on this kind of the same pathway with that. I also wanted to read read you the Housing Market Outlook 2026 from CMHC, because this is one of the things that I think, again, trying to combat that negativity that this poll shows, that negative mindset from either buyers or people that own and are looking to upgrade or anything like that. This regional overview is just a few key points that would be really great to elaborate on, again, either in an email, in a conversation, anything like that. So I'll just go ahead and read those out, and I'll send this link over with the recording. Regional overview, Ontario. Ontario's housing market will be influenced by slow but positive economic growth, declining unemployment, and recovering affordability. However, international trade tensions, heavy on that have heightened economic uncertainty will make homebuyers more cautious, keeping overall housing activity lower. Existing home sales are expected to rise as income growth, lower prices, and reduced mortgage costs boost demand. Despite this, sales will remain below the 10-year average due to ongoing affordability challenges. The Greater Toronto Area will lead this growth, while Southwestern Ontario and the outer Greater Golden Horseshoe will lag, and Ottawa is expected to stay steady. This is when I wish we had Steve on the call. High resale inventory and weak sales will lead to muted average home sales, which will then pick up in 2027 and 2028. I don't know if anyone saw the video of me burning my mouth on Instagram or Facebook or anything, but basically I did this video talking about the difference in activity in the next few years based on what's being predicted. So some activity now, more activity to come, as they're saying in 2027, much more activity to come in 2028. That's solely based on the information that we received from TREB, from AREA, from CREA, their outlooks when Scott and I went to the Buzz conference. Increasing rental supply and smaller temporary resident population will push purpose-built vacancy rates higher and slow growth in two-bedroom average rents. Those are some of the key things that CMHC was talking about in their housing market outlook in 2026. And because they're talking about these things, these are the things that are in the news. These are the things that people in your sphere are hearing about. So are you taking the opportunity to speak on these things on behalf of the real estate industry, or are you letting these things be talked about by the news articles that come out? And I think that was an interesting thing for me to see, is when I'm doing research and getting information for these meetings, for my clients, whatever it is, doing the research and looking at the news and seeing how they're framing the information. So for example, a Mississauga local newspaper, the title is "Homes Are Selling for Over List Prices in This Area of Toronto." It's like, oh, wow. And then you read, and it talks about the beaches, the Danforth, St. Clair West, Leslieville, and then it talks about Pickering. So those are the areas that this article is about, but the title is eye-catching. And I think that's what we're going to see probably in 3 to 4 weeks when the news catches up on what's happening with multiple offers and everything like that. We're going to start seeing these articles come out. And I know for me, if I don't start talking about it now with my clients, they're going to come to me in a couple of weeks and be like, well, why didn't you tell me what was going on? So that's something I know personally I'm going to look at. How do I kind of frame what we're seeing now through our colleagues, through our clients? How do I frame that to my greater database and say, okay, before the news gets a hold of this in 3 to 4 weeks, let me tell you what's happening right now.
And I think it's just like, like you said again, it's news how it's kind of comes or worded it properly. Yeah, the headlines definitely catch an eye on. Like I was having a conversation with somebody who wanted to buy like a second investment property within the GTA last week. But again, he's catching on to that news too, saying, well, the rents are dropping. There's a lot of rental listings available along with for sale for sure. But I guess our governments are pushing all these purpose-built rentals now to right through developers, which is kind of gonna not help from the rental kind of gain perspective, like same thing CMHC mentioned there. But on the other hand, that cuts the inventory for new construction, which was gonna come out right in few years, because all those things are projects being canceled or postponed or whatever by multiple years, and that's gonna create shortage eventually down the line. Yeah, I mean, nobody knows exactly when that'll be, but maybe, I don't know, in 3, 4, 5 years time frame. So I usually give that perspective to them. I mean, yes, we have rentals, but I guess the new construction is kind of a lot of them are being pushed out, is going to reduce inventory available for sale. Right now, yes, we do have lots, but yeah, eventually we're going to come to a point where it's going to be lesser and lesser, right? You know what I mean? Giving that perspective, I think helps to give them like, what we think and see.
Definitely, 100%. And that is definitely the perspective that I want to take, that we are professionals starting that conversation instead of news articles that are taking the information and kind of running with it to maybe clickbait a few people. So those are some of the things I wanted to talk about, some of the things I saw in the last week. Now, I know Scott's not going to be too happy if I don't ask this question. Has everyone been tracking their conversations? No. Okay.
Kind of.
Kind of? Okay, you want to elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, I haven't been like keeping a physical list as well as I wanted to, but I have been like hyper aware of the conversations I'm having. I feel like, especially now in the last like 3 weeks or something, as the world wakes up from winter, besides up north, people are more out and about. Sorry, Nancy. So I'm really trying to just make that the forefront. And yeah, but I wish maybe I'll keep better track going forward physically.
Now, Elizabeth, I saw a few things online. Has there been any activity on creating that community event that we had been talking about?
Yes. So
Okay.
two potential events coming up for over the course of the whole year. But long story short, there's going to be like a yoga and art event in Guelph, which is really cool. And for those who like yoga and art, um, you're welcome to come. And the other one is going to be some sort of craft night at the movies. There's like an independent movie theater in Guelph. And so I think the moral of the story is I reached out to these local business owners, women-owned businesses, and just said, like, I like what you're doing. Can I be involved? And they were so excited. Like I kind of like had a pitch ready and they were just like happy that someone wanted to be involved in some way. So that was a really nice, like kind of eye opener for me that I can just approach people and ask, and maybe they'll actually be excited to like do whatever I kind of put forward.
Well, congratulations for taking the initiative and for those two events coming up. I think that's awesome. I know something we had talked about yesterday in our social media power hour was those local businesses and reaching out to not only them, but the people that follow them and building those relationships based on local hotspots, local businesses, similarities in the things that you like, whether it's a coffee shop, a yoga place, whatever it is. And I know for me, something I'm seeing, and it doesn't matter what age, whether it's Gen Z or anything like that, people miss being connected and having real conversations. And they want more of that. And I know the salesperson thing to say is, well, do the door knocking, do that. But I think what people really thrive on is knowing that you have a similarity already that doesn't have to do with business and gaining that trust in that perspective. So whether it's a community event, or maybe you're part of a sports team or anything like that, then those are the areas where you kind of place yourself in situations to have conversations like the Ford conversations, or conversations like, hey, I really like what you're doing. How can I be involved? You're not pitching yourself, you're just pitching wanting to be involved in some capacity. And then from there, it grows because it grows with trust. So definitely kudos to you, Elizabeth. That's awesome. The other thing I wanted to talk about was leads, because something happened recently where I was like, I feel a change coming and I want to see if anyone else feels this. So I would say for the last maybe year, I found that a lot of the online leads that we were getting, whether it was from our ads, from our websites, anything like that, they were trash, like just really bad. And some of them were spammy and everything like that. And we had one come in on the website, and it actually is a great lead. And they just came to our website, they were looking stuff up. And to me, that signals that people are actually active. You're always going to get those spam leads, you're always going to get those. But what we were missing was the actual leads that were signing up to the website. And now we're starting to see that. Now we're starting to get that proper information, have those conversations, actually book showings from these leads. Is anyone else seeing that? I know I already do a lot of online leads. Are you seeing any uptick in that?
Funny you ask. I was just looking yesterday at my Google ads and all that, and since the 24th or 25th of January, there's been a spike, a big spike Like I'm going from about 2,000 visits a month to like 5,000 all of a sudden. Like, so I'd like to think it's because I made some tweaks, but it's pretty consistent. It's up there, but I've had some bad leads come in, some real junk. You know, it's like a little more than usual. So I guess that comes with the numbers. But yeah, the online visitors are there. But they're not quite reaching out. They're watching, it seems. It's like there's enough people that were firmly off the fence are now back on the fence and kind of watching. And maybe they're seeing those headlines that houses over asking and falling for that bit of a, smoke and mirror show. Yeah. But though there is a definite uptick in traffic on the websites.
Gautam, I know that you were doing the webinars for a while. I don't know if you're still doing that, but are you seeing any activity with online leads or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that. I mean, the one webinar I did in February, I mean, I got really a good client there. I mean, one buyer who's serious. I met with them through a Zoom call, like spent like hour and a half to kind of walk them through the process. Now they're working with the mortgage broker that I recommended. Yesterday they had a discussion with them, so they're serious. So I mean, definitely, I think the quality of people coming now, like again, I mean, my registrations on webinar get to like, I don't know, probably 12, 15 people who register, probably, 7, 8 join. But conversion, I mean, was getting a little bit iffy last year, but I think it's coming back where people are getting serious. I mean, they are getting the knowledge. I mean, that's a first step again, definitely for first time home buyers. But I see that definitely, like you said, the quality is there and they're serious. I mean, they're ready to meet and talk and things like that, right? And we always get those people to like who attend and just collecting information. They have no intention to buy yet, maybe for another year or two. But there are serious people coming, definitely I see as well.
Awesome. I'm glad this wasn't just a one-off. I'm glad that this is something that everyone is seeing because I think that this is a great opportunity to harness that, to really take the time now when we're just starting to see that uptick and make sure your website's up to date. Make sure the social medias that you use are up to date and really driving more people to that website based on the either your listings, whether you're updating your bio, you're updating your sites, you're doing blog posts, whatever it is, that you're creating that activity so that the back end SEO sees that activity and wants to promote you more. What the SEO hates is a dead site, something that's never active, never promoted, no one ever goes on it. So how are you allowing people the opportunity to click on your website? And I think the Cottage Life show is going to be a really good opportunity for online leads as well as in-person leads. Do you guys want to take the time to promote that a little bit? I'm super excited. It's already in my calendar.
All right. Tell them what you've been doing.
A lot of behind the scenes stuff.
Tons.
It's nothing fun, but yeah, I've been starting to post about, I've had a few people reach out, looking for tickets. I've only got so many to give out, but yeah, there's been a couple. And Nancy, you still got to send me that email for those tickets.
I will. I'll do that today.
But yeah, if anyone wants to come to the Cottage Life show and spend some time in the booth, you're more than welcome to come along because these are all Toronto people, more or less. There's a lot, although Sunridge turns out in big numbers.
Yeah, and don't forget to mention that somebody in the Dominican Republic knew my sign.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Nancy's famous internationally.
In the Dominican. She's looking at me and I'm like, why is she looking at me like that? And she's like, do you live up north in Ontario? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, I know who you are. I'm like,
No
what?
way.
I messaged Elroy that day and I'm like, guess what?
Dude, you're famous.
That's fame. You're a star.
Oh, not really.
See, Nancy, you need to get out of the office and walk around on the beaches of the Dominican. You'll get a lead.
Let me lose
Stop
about
working.
15
Stop
pounds
working
first.
on your vacation. I told you to put the computer away.
That's fantastic. Well done. That's awesome. Oh my God, that's so funny. That, and I think the story of like the little kid waving hi and bye to you every time the family passes the sign. Those are two of my favorite stories. Oh my God, that's awesome. Oh, I love that. I'm so
Yeah.
excited for you guys for the Cottage Life show.
And
For
we're
anyone that,
launching, we're sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I
no,
beg your
you're fine.
Elroy, I'm not going to say Elroy and I, it is Elroy and I. Elroy is launching a new website for us as a team. So we're pretty excited to get that going.
Yeah, the website is live. I'm still tweaking with it. It's a never-ending battle, it seems.
Yeah, but you've done a good job.
It's coming. I can't get the listings to show the way I want them, but they're coming. Just technical stuff that I hate.
Well,
You hate technical? You don't want to have a conversation with me.
well, congratulations to you guys. Elroy, what are the dates for that again?
March 26th to the 29th.
To the 29th. And for anyone that's unaware, Alroy and Nancy went last year, and she was famous there too. And
That's how we
she got,
measured our traffic. How many people recognize Nancy for the day? It's like,
yep.
if we hit 10, 11, okay, the next day we need to find 12 more, and keep building on those days.
But you guys also got good leads from these. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you got closed transactions from these, right? Yes.
Yep.
It's a great opportunity, A, for that, and B, to go back to what I was saying, people miss human connection. They miss being in person. They want to talk to people. They want to see you face to face and have those conversations and feel like it's a little bit more relaxed. It's a little bit more trustworthy to just have those and say hi and chat. And that's such a good opportunity for that. So if you
Yeah.
can, please go visit them. I will be in attendance at some point.
Well, we also bribe them with cookies and chocolate.
And that works too.
Everybody reaches for a Lindor chocolate.
I know.
Don't worry, I won't, guys. No dairy in this house. Save them for the other people. But that's awesome. I'm super stoked for you guys and for the event coming up. If you can make it, it's super awesome. I say Nancy's famous because I actually got a text from my uncle who is on a Remax team that texted me a picture of him and Nancy from last year's show because he saw her and immediately wanted to interview her, put a mic to her face and just started talking. And it was awesome. So yeah, I'm super stoked for that. Does anyone have any listings they want to talk about while we're here? Or any activity that's going on recently sold or strange questions that have come up?
I'm getting lots of action on my listing up the road here. That I'll raise.
Awesome. Like showings?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the price point.
Mm.
Right. I priced it bang on.
Yeah. That's awesome. And that was another conversation Carol and I were having yesterday is we each have listings right now that need to be lower. And that's where the activity's at. So the activity we are seeing is on the properties that are priced correctly or just a little bit under. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a condo listing in Kitchener, right? So we, didn't have much showings, whatever, but had like a couple of showings, but we did get an offer for the price that seller didn't want to accept or whatever because he thought it was too low, right? So, and then buyer kept sending that offer like, I don't know, 3 times kind of thing. The same price wouldn't change, you know what I mean? He was just trying. And then seller like, no, I'm not selling at that price because I want certain number or whatever. But I think in the end, what happened was seller ended up liking a property they wanted to buy. That came on the market. So they saw that as being an opportunity. But then they're like, well, okay, Gotham, we want to buy that. And I'm like, well, you're ready to buy, but you're not ready to sell here. So it's not going to work for you because you're looking for a certain price and we've not been able to get it so far. Then all of a sudden it became like yeah, maybe we should chase the buyer and accept that price, right? Again, you know what I mean? Because that is the actual price basically buyer is willing to pay because he bought it at a higher price. He didn't want to come lower. And in the end, he's like, yeah, maybe let's go back to that same buyer and let's accept it and all that. And then buyer was gone off at that time. But then I ended up reaching out to the agent, and then agent's like, well, why don't you make an offer to us, right? So we as a seller prepared an offer and sent it to them irrevocable, and I think created urgency for the buyer to accept. So buyer accepted it. I mean, it's conditional still based on status, whatever, but at least the buyer came through and seller was happy in a way that they were able to buy what they wanted at the same time was able to sell at the same time, even though it's at the lower price than what they wanted. But at least, and what I told them was, you're not gonna get it. Well, I wanna buy at low and sell high, right? I mean, if you are selling low, you're gonna buy low as well, right? So same property, you will pay more down the road too, right? So then he understood that point and he's like, okay, I think makes sense. So let's just go for it. You know what I mean? So we have to be sometimes flexible, right? And I think that was the interesting concept. I put an offer as a seller revocable to the buyer. You know what I mean? Like we usually tend to do the work the other way typically, but I thought maybe because buyer is there active, let's just send it over and see what happens. And they accepted within our irrevocable time.
Yeah, I actually think Anita Fleming did the same thing recently. And it's just trying to keep the negotiation and the conversation going, right?
Definitely.
Because there is opportunity there. So yeah, well done. Anyone else have anything they want to share or chat about? No. All right. Well, that's all I have today. I do believe this is the last one I'm hosting, but we shall see. There is a 12-hour time difference that Scott is going to have to get used to, so you may see me next week too. But we shall see. If you have any comments, questions, anything like that in the next week, please don't hesitate to reach out. And happy to answer any questions. And I hope you guys have a great week.
Yeah, you as
Also, there
well.
is a seminar tomorrow at 1 p.m. Zoom seminar that Frank Cavello is hosting with one of the real estate lawyers that he knows. So the information, you'll find that in an email from me. And I do invite everyone to join. I think any information is good information. And I did have Rhea reach out to me. She's worked with this lawyer before, and she said she's awesome. So so it should be good.
Do these get recorded, Michelle? There was a session if I'm not able to attend for some reason, but it's a good information, right? Especially I think the
Yeah,
topic is really good.
so the Thursday session, I'm not sure just because it is a third party.
Okay.
So I have asked Frank if he can get the recording for that.
Okay.
And if we are allowed, then I'll probably either share it or post it privately and share that with everyone.
Okay.
But I will keep you updated.
Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, I hope you guys have a good week, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you so much for your time.
Bye.
You too. Bye.